So in one of my previous videos, I talked about how to actually find A player talent and how to hire them. But to be honest, you can hire the best talent in the world if you cannot retain them, if you can't nurture them, if you can't keep them around, if you can't get them actually bought into your company, your vision, your values, your mission. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter because you're going through this intensive, laborious process for what? Just to keep losing great talent? So in today's video, I'm actually gonna show you how to retain that talent. And listen, of course, with our clients inside of 8-Figure License, our licensing program, we give you guys all the craziest gizmos, hacks, all the tools, SOPs, systems, processes, resources, like a full plug and play business, like everything we're using to this day to still run multiple 8-figure businesses, everything that I've used to have more than $100 million plus in career earnings. And all that stuff is exciting and great, but I can tell you, this is one of the biggest levers that you can pull. I wouldn't be able to do any of this if it wasn't for my ability to not only attract top talent, but keep them around. Now, the first thing you need to understand is that A players don't leave for money. They leave because of culture. I find that with A players, at the end of the day, they love what they do. So because they love what they do, usually as long as there's a certain benchmark of how much they're getting paid, or they're meeting their financial standards, which if they're an A player, then obviously any company they go to usually will meet their financial standards. So with that being said, they're really not that bothered whether they can make a little bit more money here, a little bit more money there. For them, it really is about the culture. So you want to focus on creating an addictive culture. Culture isn't what you say, it is what you do. You could say our culture is this, and then not live in alignment with that. And I've actually found that the biggest thing for A players is the second they know they're an A player, or they think that they've reached maximum capacity, that's the second they feel like they're crumbling, they're dying on the inside. And that's why I have my companies, not only in terms of constantly pushing the ball forward, because it's quite interesting with my companies as well. Sometimes there's bleed through. Sometimes I'll move one person from one of my companies to the other companies because I can just see the way that their interests or their expertise is shifting, then maybe they would be more well suited in one of the physical product businesses, whatever it may be. I like to always keep my team on their toes, or maybe it's even some of the physical challenges that we do. At one of the companies last year, everyone ran a marathon. In just a few months now, we've got a High Rocks, which is another crazy big physical challenge. And once again, everyone in the company is doing that as well. You also need to understand that everyone in your team is different and thus requires different approaches. You've got your frontline team versus your C-suite team. And these people take different approaches. Their comp structure should be different. It's just a lot of times their desires and motivations are very, very different. Now we'll come back to that in a little bit, but for now, the 4 pillars of the A player retention system are addictive culture, team structure, the motivation trifecta, as well as the leadership blueprint. Now the pillars of an addictive culture are mission, vision, and values. The mission is your unattainable dream, but rooted in reality. And what I mean by that is, I've heard agencies that work with real estate agents, they're we're gonna change the world. And it's that's not really rooted in reality. Even if you shake up your industry, is that really gonna change the world? You offer services, agency services for real estate agents? No. So you wanna make your mission an unattainable dream, but still rooted in reality. I think I gave this example in one of my other videos. Let's say your company creates knives, cooking knives. Our mission is to ensure that our customers never ever cook without a smile on their face ever again. That's something that's kind of unattainable because of course sometimes they don't wanna cook. No matter how nice your knives look or how beautiful or how customized they are or how high quality they are, of course sometimes your customers won't wanna cook. So it's an unattainable dream, but it's rooted in reality in the sense it's okay, they could actually visualize it, they can tangibly see it. Every time the team designs new knives or new sets, they can go, how is this gonna delight our customers? How is this gonna put a smile on their face? How is it gonna make cooking feel effortless because they just enjoy it so much because they have this beautiful piece of utility, machinery in front of them. So that's kind of what I mean by that's a mission that's unattainable. Your customers aren't always gonna cook with a smile on their face, but it is still rooted in some sense of reality. Whereas with that cooking knife company, if they said that, yeah, our mission is to change the world or cure cancer, it's kind of okay, chill. Then comes your vision. Now your vision is all about alignment. So your frontline employees need to focus on short term, your C-suite needs to focus on medium term, and then you as the founder needs to focus on long term. And sometimes you can bring your C-suite into the long-term vision. So what I mean by that is I have visions sometimes of 3 years out. I have intentions of where I want to take the company 3 years out. But sometimes with your core team, you don't want them to be focused on that. You want them to be focused on the day-to-day, the short term. Because at the end of the day, if you don't achieve the short-term missions, you're never going to be able to get to the medium and long-term vision and where you want to take the company. Where you want to take the company is only based on you executing in the present moment. So that's why for me, I don't like to pull too much the frontline employees into the longer term vision until it's like set in stone. Sometimes you almost have to put blinders of like, this is what we're doing and we just focus on this. Whereas your C-suite, you can kind of involve them a little bit more. You might say, hey, I'm thinking about making these chess moves because it relates to this. And a lot of times because they have a better understanding of how the company is run, they can see why you're making those decisions. Whereas let's say you have someone who's more like a frontline in the trenches member of your team, they can only see it from their department, how that maybe negatively affects or benefits their department, and they just see it from that perspective. Whereas someone in your C-suite can kind of understand from department to department, okay, how does this benefit the business? Now, the next thing is your core values, and you honestly have to live and breathe your core values. These are not just fancy concepts that you put on a wall. I find the 3 values is the sweet spot. Any more than that, and I just find that it becomes too diluted. You can't really truly stick to it. For us, we have better every day, and really that means like you don't have to be perfect. You just have to show up every single day and attempt to be better every day. That's just like the only thing that you should have on your mind is better every day. Show up, try to be better every day. It's not gonna happen every day, but the point is you have to try and show up, do your best, and just become better every day. Next one we have is death before dishonor. Now that basically means act with integrity at all times. Do the right thing. And I think it's really important with your core values to actually say stuff that like gets you fired up, you know what I mean? Because I could sit here and say like, do the right thing. Our core value is like integrity or honesty or do the right thing. But for me, when you say death before dishonor, that's something that's always really resonated with me. It's like, I would genuinely rather die than do something dishonorable to the people I love, to the people around me. And just in general, listen, you're not always gonna be an angel. You're not always gonna be able to always do the right thing. But for me, there's like a difference between like you made a mistake. In life, I think everyone can make mistakes, or they have oversights, or they just made the wrong decision, or they made the bad call, or they made something that like was an emotional decision. But I find that very different to dishonorable. Dishonorable is like, you know for a fact this is wrong. Like you have that feeling in the pit of your stomach, you know this is wrong, and you still do it anyway. To me, that's dishonorable. As the leader of the company, I've messed up in the past. I've had oversights. I've made emotional decisions. I'm very proud of myself that almost 10 years into running businesses, I'm at a pretty good place with that stuff. And I would say even from a young age, that was one of my superpowers, is just removing emotion and acting very logically and calmly and whatnot. But I'm not perfect, okay? And I don't expect my team to be either, but just don't be dishonorable. And dishonorable is like, you know what you're doing is wrong fundamentally in the pit of your stomach. This isn't a mistake. You know that this isn't right, but you're gonna do it anyways. So that's why for us, it's one of our core values, and I feel like it's a very powerful one. Now, another one of our core values is don't be lame. And I know this sounds funny, but for us, it's just like, if we're gonna do something, we wanna do it cool. We wanna do it in the best way. You know, that doesn't mean that we're always trying to be the coolest company or whatever it is. At the end of the day, you have to do what works. But for us, I guess like stay in your own lane. That's another thing that kind of ties into it. And sometimes these core values, they're open to interpretation. It can mean different things to different people in the company, but don't be lame for us just means like, have a company that you're proud to work at, stay in your own lane, what anyone else is doing. Like, let's do things our way. And if we're gonna do something, let's give it our all. And like, let's just leave it all out on the table and don't be lame about it. You know, don't half-ass it. I'll be honest, in whatever industry we're in, whether that be physical products, whether that be software, whether that be our years in the digital product space, people look at us and like, we want to copy them. And I think that was our big thing, is we never wanted to copy anyone else. We wanted to be the people that people copied. And by the way, I don't mean the back end of the business, because obviously with our 8-figure licensed clients, which by the way, if you're a business or individual doing more than $250,000 a year and you want to know how to actually scale, whether that be your digital product business, we have software founders in there, we have e-commerce business owners in there, because one of the big things that we teach in there is personal brand. And obviously I've been able to build everything I have around me, whether that be my physical product businesses, my software businesses, whether that be businesses I invest in and get crazy discounted equity from. The nucleus of all of that has been my personal brand. So if you want to find out more about that, link in the description, booking a call with my team, and one of our business advisors will speak to you, run you through a demo call, and we'll go from there. But back to my point, I don't mean like copying us, like copying our backend systems, because we give all of that to all of our clients, like literally plug and play to all the AFL clients. But then they take those back-end systems and then obviously they show up to the world in the way that's authentic to them. So that pretty much makes the core values. Now, other things you want to focus on, in-person experiences and trips really help strengthen team cohesion. Obviously, I already talked a little bit about team challenges. You know, we did the marathon, now we're doing the High Rocks. And for me, this has been incredible because I want like athletes on my team. I'll be honest, a lot of people in my team, they're not necessarily like the fittest or the craziest, like in shape, whatever, but they'll leave it all out there on the battlefield. And I think when you go and you do these physical challenges together as a company, it's like, you know what hell we all went through. Like, you know how much we had to push ourselves. And I also think it's this other thing of, you know, when we did the marathon, I know a lot of people in the company had no interest in doing a marathon. They were never going to do a marathon in their life. So whether they're with the company now or not, you know, whether we parted ways, we let them go, whatever it may have been, that's something that sticks with them. That's a core memory that sticks with them for the rest of their life. And like, wow, whatever happened, I'm so grateful to that company for even just pushing me to be better physically. But even outside of those things, I think it's important to even just have trips, whether that be a department, you know, we do C-suite trips a lot of times. where half of it is strategizing and focusing on weakness in the business or maybe that specific department. The other half is just go around, have fun. Like that's the thing. Once people join one of my companies, it becomes addictive. Like people, they've never felt this sense of camaraderie, like just genuine love in a team and like respect for each other. And like I would die for you and I know you would do the same for me. As I said, it's not just like a work thing, it's having fun, it's training, it's like this whole thing together. Once they experience that, like people get addicted, they can't find that anywhere else. Now, the next thing I wanted to talk about was team structure, because you need to play people to their strengths. Just like football, you know, a team has designated positions. You've got makers and you've got managers. Now makers, you want to give them uninterrupted calendar time to produce. And then you have managers, and then you want to give them the flexibility to oversee operations. So you're going to have makers and you're going to have managers, and they need to have very, very different looking calendars, okay? So you can't have the same system for both these people. Now, the other thing I want to discuss is the motivation trifecta. You've got autonomy, you've got mastery, and you've got purpose. And all three must coexist for peak performance. Autonomy gives team members a sense of greater responsibility. Mastery allows A players to learn and develop their skills and grow with the company. Purpose really means having an unattainable mission and making a real impact. And you also want to give your team room for growth. If you look at Max, who's our COO, he started as an SDR. And then you've got Luis, who is actually an intern in my marketing agency, went from intern to junior media buyer to lead media buyer to then being CMO at Grow Your Agency, which was my digital product business. And then now he's a CMO at my software company. And then same thing with Tristan. He went from originally a video editor to now a chief content officer managing multiple content departments. So when it comes to leadership blueprint, you want to lead by example. You want to be someone worth following and have the right incentives in place. Now, profit share is a great incentive for C-suite because it basically allows them to be owners of the company in a sense. You know, they have a percentage of the profit share, but I prefer profit share rather than equity depending on the kind of business. So for example, the info business, it doesn't really have enterprise value. I've heard people say, oh, I sold my e-learning business. I know what actually goes on behind the scenes. I can tell you what the actual numbers are. I don't want to get too into it, but like, honestly, no one has sold just a digital product business without bundling it in with some other stuff. And that's where they get the valuations and whatnot. Like the point is info businesses, like a dime a dozen they actually ever sell. So in that business, it made more sense to have profit share. Now, obviously in my other businesses, I give out equity or I have a technical co-founder, whatever the situation may be. But the point is, specifically with that info business, which I know, you know, a large part of you guys have coaching businesses, info product businesses, course businesses, whatever it may be. In those businesses, it makes sense to give out profit share because those are very profitable businesses. So you still have a percentage of the upside, but let's say you have to let go of them, which does happen as part of the game. They don't own a percentage of equity in your business. And doing that with my info business really allowed me to step out of the everyday operations of the businesses and then branch out and build some of my enterprise value plays, whether that be my eyewear company, which earlier in the year, I sold 40% to my business partner who's done $1 billion in sales with eyewear. So it's like the best strategic partner you could ever have. But the point is, I was only able to do all this stuff because I had the right incentive structure in place. So whatever incentive structure makes the most sense for your business, make sure you have it there. Now, altogether, these create a natural hierarchy where respect isn't demanded, it's earned through actions as a leader. Because you need to understand that real leadership means being in the trenches with your team. And also, you want to eliminate any displays of wealth. And this is actually very important to touch on. I constantly make it clear to my team that, you know, a lot of this lifestyle stuff, first of all, a lot of it is company trips. That's number one. By the way, whether it's true or not, you constantly, like, for example, my watch, I take my watch off on any team meetings. Any meeting I have with a team, I take it off just because I don't want, like, they're not dumb. They know I have watches. Now, watches obviously for me have been a great investment as well because I buy all my watches direct from the boutiques and I have great relationships with all brands. So whatever, I'm blessed on that front. So of course, as many watches I buy that lose a bunch of value, I just like the watches. So it is what it is. And then there's some watches that I buy that I love that happen to be worth a lot more. So it's been a hobby of mine for a long time, but also a great investment. But nonetheless, I just don't want to rub that in my team's face. And same thing with like supercars, cars in general. If I'm in my, because this happens sometimes, I have to join a call, I'll be in my Phantom, right? And obviously I'm in the back of the car, in my Rolls Royce, Starlights, all this stuff, or even the Maybach, and I just don't turn the camera on just because I just don't want to rub it in my team's face like that. Maybe I'm being a little over the top here, but the point is, like, I constantly make it clear to my team that I don't care about money. And to be honest, it's true. I really don't care about money. The percentage of money that I spend compared to what I make is comical. And most of the money I spend is for experiences for me, my team, and the people around me. Like even my cars, my properties, I swear to God, every single week, someone has one of my cars staying in one of my properties. And you know, I build this whole world and this whole ecosystem to benefit everyone around me. So it's crazy to me because I'll see people online and they're like on 9-to-5s or having jobs or all this stuff. And I'm just like, imagine like being an employee of like this person. And like this person's like, yeah, you broke, like brokey, 9 to 5, wagey, like all this stuff. I'm just like, that's crazy. Like, I wonder what that looks like when you go into the office or you have your like team meetings after that point. Is it not awkward? You just have literally shat on your team. I don't know. That's just me personally. I've never once ever said that everyone has to be an entrepreneur or this, that. Like, you get amazing benefits with it, but you also get some of the lowest lows, and just not everyone's cut out for it. And I've said many times that if you can be the right hand or the third person or the fifth person or sometimes even the 10th person in command in a company, you could still be a multimillionaire. And that's the truth of it. I know, because I've had that with my team. So for me, you just want to lead with grace. You want to be a firm but fair leader, and your team is what will take you to the next level. You cannot do this alone. So that's why just hiring great talent is not enough. You cannot afford to lose your A players. There's no point in investing into hiring just to end up losing all your A players, hence the importance of the A player retention system. So hopefully this is giving you a bit of a high level overview. I'm gonna be honest, I left out quite a bit of stuff that I can't share publicly. Let's just say some of the more specific details of how I've been able to build this ecosystem and a team where I've had one of my employees right now who's been working for me for 7 years. So from 2017 to 2014. At 2017, he was my first contractor I worked with for my agency. He used to do all of our social media management, like the captions and the posting on Sprout Social, and then we used to do our client communication on Basecamp. But anyways, the point is, it's been 7 years. Like, it's very hard, especially in this digital world, to keep people around for 7 years, 5 years, 6 years, blah, blah. Like, people in this side of the internet and this side of the work environment want to stay for 1 year, 6 months, get their experience and off, whereas people have been with me for years and years and years and keep building. And that's because of all the things that I do. And obviously this is stuff I go far more into detail with my clients inside of 8FL. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed today's video. If 8FL sounds interesting to you, go ahead and book in a call with one of the business advisors with the link in the description. Just so you're aware, we don't work with businesses making less than 250K a year. We don't work with any sort of like crypto, Forex, any that kind of business, like trading businesses. We don't work with OnlyFans or webcam businesses. We don't work with any assholes, which I'm sure you won't be. And most importantly, we don't work with businesses that we genuinely don't think we can help. So that's why we have that demo call in place, because I'm sure you passed the first 4 tests, but on our end, we just need to make sure that we can help you. If that's the case, then beautiful. If not, then I guarantee that we will leave you better than we found you after that call. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you in the next one.